Hey everyone, it's Rena. I just got out of class and a bunch of meetings and stuff today, and I actually got my Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette in the mail. So I thought I would just film a quick first impressions. I haven't even opened it yet, so I just thought I'd show you what the palette looks like, give you my first impressions on the feel and texture of the shadows, and yeah, just go from there. I will have a full review hopefully soon. These next couple weeks are absolutely insanity, so I'm hoping to have this up soon, the actual full review after I use it a couple times, but I can't make any promises on the timeline just because my department is going through some crazy stuff right now and it's been really, really busy. So, and this is the Urban Decay Full Spectrum, not to be confused with the Urban Decay Spectrum palette that came out last fall, winter time, last holiday season. That was a palette that had a bunch of jewel tones in it, and it was in the same style as the Urban Decay 15th Anniversary palette, which was kind of like, it had a cap and you could pull it off, and it was kind of loose. It didn't really close tightly, but in that way it could be reused as a jewelry box or something. This is a little bit different than that. It is still along the same lines of it being a spectrum of colors, but the packaging is different, and this is more of a rainbow palette. So I was very excited to see this. I remember seeing the teasers that people post on Instagram, and people were like, no, that can't be a real palette, you know, things like that. So I was excited to find out it was a real thing that was going to be happening. I was sad to see the electric palette discontinued, but I figured something like this was going to come along to kind of replace and fill that void. Now, I don't know if this is permanent. I'll put a little annotation or something if I find out, or it'll be down in the info box. Either way, and I'm sure by the time my full review goes up, I will know that for sure. My mind is just in a million different places right now, and I'm not sure about that. What I do know is that this is $55, which I think is a very fair price for 21 eyeshadows. These are, let me see how big they are. If I can find that information. Here we go. They are 1.2 grams, so I think they're just shy of full size. So 21 shadows, almost full size, not a bad deal for $55 in comparison to something like the Naked palettes, which are around that same price for 12 eyeshadows. So let's open this guy up and see what we think. It's taped shut. I pulled the tape off of the side and it did kind of, ruin the box a little bit, but just so you see, it's held together that way. So that's nice. It makes it feel like it's a little more, sturdy in the packaging when it's shipped. It is really beautiful. It's this black material. It reminds me of the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics that recently came out as well, just because it has this textured kind of linear effect, kind of like how the Ultimate Basics had the sunburst effect. This is kind of along the same lines, but it reminds me like of a spectrum that you would see in different sciences. I'm really not a science person. I study history, but this is what it reminds me of. It's just like a color spectrum. Appropriate. It says full spectrum down here in rainbow lettering, which is raised. And then it has this beautiful 3D jewel effect of the UD in rainbow. It's really, really beautifully done. I will say I'm noticing these are very sharp edges. So if you have pets, if you have little children, or if you are very clumsy, I would be careful with this because that is very sharp. I noticed that immediately when I opened it up and felt it against my palm. So be careful when you're using it and don't let the little ones around this if you have them. The way that it opens is right down here. So it feels similar to the original Spectrum because of this ledge, but it does close completely and it just kind of closes like that. So you have a very nice, huge mirror. This is absolutely huge. I do have some powder kind of along my mirror here. I don't know if you can see right there, as well as powder kind of loose in the palette from shipment. Now, to be honest, Urban Decay's packaging is not great in terms of shipment. This might be one of the worst times. I could feel as I was carrying my package home that it was shifting around in there, so this is definitely where that came from. They have some tissue paper in there and like some brown paper, but it's not enough. You really need that bubble wrap to keep it solid in there. So that's probably where I'm getting a lot of that powder kick up from. So kind of disappointed in that. It didn't ruin any of the eyeshadows necessarily, although this gold one right down here does kind of, you can tell that a lot of it came off of that shadow, and that it kind of has a rougher texture to the top of the shadow because of that. So, beautiful colors though. It's so weird, hard to not show you the mirror, you know. You get a beautiful array of shades from kind of pinks, oranges, yellows, blues, greens, purples, silvers. The one thing that I'm kind of upset, I wouldn't say upset because I haven't even swatched them yet, but disappointed about is the fact that there is not a bold red. That would have been a nice addition to this palette, I think, to really make it a true full spectrum. C's right here kind of looks like it could be the red shade or possibly Gossip. But Gossip and C's both have more pink or orange to them than a traditional like red would. So it does come with a brush. I do love Urban Decay's brushes. They are really useful, and honestly I use them every single day. I have tons from the Vice palettes, and this is very similar to the Vice style. So you get a shadow brush like this. It's always nice to see them brand new and unused. It's a little bit shorter than the Vice brushes, I think, so it's a little bit different feel-wise in the hand. And it has this fluffy end, which is a little bit bigger than the Vice brushes, closer to the one that came with the Naked Smoky palette. And the ferrule, I think is what you would call it, I don't know, the actual barrel part of the brush is actually transparent. I don't know if you could tell, but it has, it's transparent, kind of a smoky effect, and it says Urban Decay Full Spectrum in the rainbow. Really, really cute brush. I always like when they note which palette it came from, even though I never keep it with the palette. It's just kind of cute. So I'm actually going to remove the brush just so it doesn't keep falling. Put that down there. I'm going to go through and swatch them on my hand with my fingers. For the full review, I will probably do brush swatches. I just want to get a real feel for the textures. Actually feeling them with my fingers usually helps me imagine how they're going to apply on the lid. If they're a little bit thinner, more chalky, chunky glitter, you know, I can really feel that more than I would be able to feel it with the brush. So I'm more interested in just how do the colors look on the skin, and how do they feel. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this review. Full review, I'll have brush swatches over primer. I don't have any primer on right now. Like literally just walked in the door. So I'm going to start from here. I think the idea is really to go probably down, so it actually is like an ombre effect. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with Anarchy, which is one of the re-promoted shades. I know there's 3 re-promotes. So Anarchy, or wow, it's not Anarchy, it's Alchemy. It has been such a long day, guys. Alchemy. This was in the Vice 3 palette. So this one feels very smooth and satiny. There it is over bare skin with just a very slight finger swatch. I did not dig in there. It's just a berry shade. The next one is Gossip. It might be easier if I just swatch a couple of them at a time. So I'm going to do that. And then this last one is Paranoia. So Gossip and Paranoia. Ooh, Gossip's pretty. So there they are. There's Gossip right there, that bright pink. And then Paranoia is kind of this, I don't know what I would call it. Just kind of like a light pastel pink with some satin shimmer. I think these are going to be great over primer. These first 3 feel very nice to the touch. I didn't have the Vice 3, so I'm really happy that this color was in here, because that's the one that I really wanted from that palette, but I didn't want to buy the whole thing. So the next row, or column actually, starts with Warning, right here, this copper shade, C's, and Jones. So I'm going to go ahead and do the swatches like that. Okay, I'm going to move that like this here. So this is Warning, C's, Jones. Oh, Jones is pretty. Okay, so this is Warning, kind of a copper orange. This is C's, and my lighting is kind of washing it out. And then Jones. These 3 colors together really remind me of Hayley Williams from Paramore, just Riot, that Riot time period. These 3 really remind me of colors she would have worn. Jones is really pretty, a little more sheer, but over primer it may be packed onto a white base or something, it would really show up. C's here is kind of, it's really pretty. It's almost has like a pinkish duochrome to it. It's not really showing up on camera, but it has a nice shift. And then here is Warning, which is just a nice copper shade. I think all these colors kind of work well together, and you could come up with some really fun like sunset type of looks. The next column starts with Midnight Blaze, and then goes on to Calavera and Goldmine. So let's go through those. I'm excited for Calavera. It looks like it's going to be pretty great. So let's see, Midnight Blaze, Calavera, Goldmine. All right. There's Midnight Blaze. It's pretty sheer for how it looks in the pan. It's a little more chunky, glittery. My finger is so gross right now with all that yellow. It's just sheer. I don't know how I'd really use this because it wouldn't really work to deepen up the outer corner or anything. This will probably be a shade that goes untouched for me. Over here is Calavera. That's beautiful without primer. That's amazing. It's a beautiful matte yellow. I'm going to, in the full review, I'll compare it to Sugar Pill Butter Cupcake, which I think is the only comparable shade I have in my collection. I've been waiting for Urban Decay to put out a matte yellow, so I'm really happy to see Calavera. And then up here is Goldmine, and this is a very, very, very sheer, you might not even be able to see it on my hand, sparkly yellow. This is probably going to need some real serious help to show up, and might make a nice inner corner highlight, but that might be about the extent of it, unless you want to add it on top of Calavera. It's pretty sheer. The next column starts with 100, goes to Hatter, and then Mean. I'm very excited about this. I love my green shadows. So let's see, 100, Hatter, and Mean. So hopefully I have enough space on my hand. I might have to move to my arm. Didn't really make good space decisions. 100 is pretty decently pigmented. It's kind of like a hunter green with shimmer. Hatter was in the Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass palette. It was not one of my favorite shades. It feels a little bit better here, but it's still pretty sheer. It's a matte, kind of a matte green. Almost has like some suspended like shimmer, but it's not anything that would cause fallout. It actually looks pretty matte on the eye. And it's just very sheer, and I had a lot of issues with it in the Through the Looking Glass palette. And then the last one here is Mean, which is a kind of chartreuse color. It is decently pigmented, but for the color it is, for being a chartreuse, it looks a little bit better in person than it's picking up on camera, but it's definitely more shimmery. I think it's going to need the help of NYX Milk, some kind of sticky base to really pop. Getting into the blues, the first one here is Minx, then you have Blindsided and Metamorphosis. So, oh, okay, Minx feels really nice. Kind of surprised there. I don't know, navy blues are never really my thing, but it's really beautiful. It's quite nice. Okay. I'm doing some funky swatches. They're kind of like all over the place. Okay. This is Minx. It's very pigmented, pretty smooth, really nice, kind of navy blue. Would be lovely, lovely liner. Blindsided is almost matte. It has a little bit of shimmer to it, but not too much. Definitely more of a suspension than something that's running throughout. And it's a beautiful, vibrant blue. This is Metamorphosis, and this is one of the ones that was also in the Through the Looking Glass palette. It's kind of a powder blue to periwinkle type of shade. Not my favorite at all. Again, I don't know why they picked these two colors from the Through the Looking Glass palette to put in this palette, because they're not good shades. They just aren't, and I was sad to see that they were the ones included, especially since it's a blue and a green, which I know people can pull off well. You know, I know that they can do that well. I'm going to switch to my other hand now so we have some good swatching space, but I'm going to start on these purples. This one is Delirious, Sketch, and Faded. So let's start off. Alright, so these are pretty sheer, but they're not too bad. This is Delirious, which is pretty nice for a matte kind of mulberry purple color. Pretty pigmented and opaque. This is Sketch. This needed a little bit of help, but it reminds me of Urban Decay Flash, which is a purple with a blue shift. It's pretty similar to that, but it feels a little silkier. And then this is Faded, which is kind of an interesting shade. It's a grayed out purple with like gold shimmer, lots of gold shimmer. Not sure how it's going to translate to the eye. It looks beautiful in the pan. I just don't know. It kind of goes on pretty sheer and kind of more smoky. This might be a topper to an eyeshadow instead of something that might stand on its own. And the last column here starts with Platonic. These are our more neutral shades. Platonic, Iced, and Bump. I'm sure you know where they came up with that name. So here's Platonic, okay, Iced, and Bump. Alright. Platonic is a shimmery brown, or not brown, wow, what am I talking about, guys? It's a shimmery gray black. Really, really shimmery. This is Iced, and again, a very, very, very shimmery frosty shade. I would go as far as say frosty. It is called Iced, so I guess it's appropriate. And this is Bump, which is a matte white, which is actually pretty decently pigmented for a matte white. And it felt okay in terms of texture. Not the most silky of matte whites, but not terrible either. So overall, texture-wise, it feels like they're kind of all over the place. I definitely like a lot of these oranges and yellows. Those and the pinks, those are my favorites so far, which is sad because I'm normally a purple, green, blue girl. And the fact that I'm leaning towards more warm shades is very out of character. The other shades just don't feel as nice. So I'm going to see how they actually apply and wear, and I'll get back to you guys in a full review. As of right now, I'm a tad bit disappointed, but Calavera is a beautiful yellow. I don't think I would, even if I didn't like this, I don't think I would return it. I know that sounds stupid, but I'm such an Urban Decay fan and Urban Decay collector that having something like this is really nice, and I know I can make them work. I know you shouldn't have to make eyeshadows work, but I can make them work if I try. But I'm going to use them over the next couple days, try and use as many of them as I can in various looks, and then get back to you guys with a full review of how it performs and how it compares to other eyeshadows that are similar. So I'll let you guys know. I hope you enjoyed this very, very long and drawn out first impressions video. I can never do a quick video. You guys know this. So I will talk to you guys soon, and I hope you guys are having a good week, and whenever I put this up, it might not even be the week, could be the weekend, but you know what I mean. I'll talk to you guys later.